In this video, I'm going to show you how a new LLC can get approved for 0% business credit cards up to $50,000 or more. These are going to be real funding options from real banks. So you can use these credit cards for marketing, payroll, pretty much anything that goes into running a business. To be straight with you guys, to get the best possible options out there, you're gonna need at least a credit score of 680 and above, preferably 740 and up. Now, this is not to say that if you have fair credit into the 600s that you cannot get approved, but you gotta have some sort of relationship with that bank or financial institution to better your odds. If you are a newbie to their bank, then the likelihood is gonna be much lower. This basically means that you gotta have your credit score squared away. For example, you gotta have a low credit utilization with no negatives because you gotta show the banks that they can trust you and that you're gonna pay them back. So if you're not in that position right now, then it might be in your best interest to start repairing your credit or rebuilding your credit. Anyone with bad or fair credit is gonna be limited on what they can get approved for. As a shameless plug, I do have a DIY software that allows you to repair your credit with just a few clicks. Here are some results on the screen that clients are getting within the first month. So if you wanna check it out, link is in the description. Now, if you're not an LLC yet, that's still okay because you can still start getting business credit without one. But if you're wanting to set up an LLC before you start applying for business credit cards, then I recommend InkFile. I do have a link down in the description below. They do have a free option that all you gotta do is pay your state fees. Whenever you are creating your LLC, it is best to keep your business name as basic as possible. Any type of companies that are involved in cannabis, gambling, real estate, and credit, you will be labeled as high risk. So your business will be flagged and it's gonna be much more difficult to get business funding or credit. Now, once you have your LLC up and running, you can head over to IRS's website and get a free EIN number, and then you're ready to go. You might see EINs as upsell when you're forming an LLC, but it's usually just a waste of money since you can actually do it in a matter of minutes. All right, so your business is all set up and you're ready to start getting business funding. Now, stop right there because this is where most people mess up. When it comes to applying, people usually put 0 as revenue when they are applying for business credit cards. This is a huge mistake that most people make and causes them not to get the highest possible credit limits when starting out. So my recommendation is by putting your projected revenue. The thing is that most credit card applications are just stated income, meaning that they will not require any documentation unless something raises a flag. So they won't ask for bank statements, taxes, or any other reports to get you approved. The banks are putting in good faith that you are telling the truth. Of course, there is a possibility of audit, but the chances are extremely low. When I first got my business credit card, I was trying to get into e-commerce. I had not made any money, no website, no email, pretty much nothing. It was just an idea at the time, and I was still able to get approved for a business credit card. The key thing with that is that I had a strong credit profile. Plus, I built a relationship with that bank. Now, let's go over my top 5 banks to help you secure over $50,000 in funding. The first bank that we will be going over will be Chase Bank. The reason being is that I've been a Chase banking customer for a few years before I decided to open up a business credit card. And even then, I didn't even have an LLC yet, but I did have an EIN number and I applied in branch, so that might have bettered my chances. Now, if you have a new LLC, they may contact you to confirm your identity and make sure that you're using it for business expenses. In most cases, this is usually what they'll only ask for. At the moment, they have 2 credit cards that have no annual fee, and you can get them for 0% APR for the first 12 months. So what to keep in mind with Chase is that relationship building really helps. If you have a personal bank account with Chase or any other personal credit cards with them, this may increase your chances of approval. Now, with Chase business credit cards, you can actually get approved for 2 Chase business cards within a 30-day period. On top of that, you can actually get 1 credit card based on your own social security number and also 1 with your EIN number, meaning that you can have 2 of the same credit card. This is extremely helpful if you are trying to get into the world of credit card points. I've had multiple Chase Inc. business credit cards for different businesses in the past. Now, the thing that you have to keep in mind about Chase business cards is that they do fall under the 524 rule. If you have opened up 5 personal credit cards in the past 24 months, then you will not get approved for another Chase credit card. To clarify, if you have opened up 4 personal credit cards or less within the past 24 months, then I would look into applying. But if it is more than that, then I would hold off until you're under that. But the weird thing about Chase business credit cards is that once you do get approved, it does not count towards your 524. As for what credit bureaus that they pull from, they would most likely pull from your Experian, but sometimes they do pull from 2 credit bureaus, which the secondary may be Equifax or TransUnion, just based on where you're located. The next bank that we will be talking about will be PNC. Now, they have plenty of business credit cards that don't have an annual fee, but the one that I would focus on would be the Visa Business Credit Card. The reason being is that this one gives you a 0% APR on balance transfers on the first 90 days. This would be a great card to pair with other cards that have balances or doesn't offer a 0% APR. When it comes to applying, you will need to open up a business checking account with them first. You need to deposit at least $100 to open, and you need to maintain an average monthly balance of $500 to avoid a $12 maintenance fee. So your best bet would be open up an account with just $500. It is also suggested that you have a personal account or personal credit cards with them as well, since this would better your odds of business credit card approval. When it comes to credit bureaus, they will pull from your Experian. So again, you want to make sure that your Experian credit profile is in tip-top shape before you apply. Now moving on to the next bank, we will be covering Truus Financial. With this bank, they do limit in the areas that they do serve. They only operate in 18 states, mostly on the East Coast. But here's a workaround if you do have a business elsewhere. What you can do is form a foreign entity in a different state. This allows you to operate in one of the other states that Truus serves. So yes, this can be a hassle, so I wouldn't start with them first, but it may be worth your while. With Truus, they typically require you to have at least a 620 credit score, which is a lower entry point compared to most major banks. Plus, they are bankruptcy friendly as long as it has been discharged for 4 years or longer and you have a 650 score or higher. So there has been data points that show that Truus can give you 3 credit card approvals in 1 week, and most likely 2 within the same day with only a soft inquiry through Equifax. But which cards should you get? They have 3 business credit cards, but there's only 2 that I would recommend since they do not have an annual fee, which is the Business Cash Rewards and business cards. Both of these have an interest 0% APR for 9 to 12 months. Like many of the banks on the list, this is best if you have opened up a business checking account with them, because data points show that you would most likely get a higher credit limit upon application rather than not having a checking account. Also, you have better chances of approval if you walk in the branch. Now let's keep it moving with our next bank, which is US Bank. If you're well qualified, you can get a 0% interest for up to 18 billing cycles. Now, here's the thing about US Bank. They really value building a relationship when it comes to credit cards. So my advice is the same as other banks on the list. Start by opening up a business checking account with US Bank, make a deposit, and then establish that relationship. They do have a free business checking account called the Silver Business. I would just deposit some cash in it, then let it sit for about 30 days before applying for one of their business credit cards. Now, I'm not saying that you absolutely cannot get approved without a checking account or a prior relationship with them, but your chances are much higher if you take this route. By doing so, you also increase your likelihood of getting a higher credit limit, and that's what we want. Next up is American Express. I like American Express quite a bit just due to the fact that once you're in, it is much easier to get more credit cards. The thing about American Express is that if you're new on your credit journey, meaning that you really haven't had that much credit history or new to credit cards, then the odds of getting approved from American Express is very low compared to someone who had at least a year or 2 of history and a few other cards. Because MX is a little bit more strict on who to let join, but once you're in, you're smooth sailing from there. I would recommend getting a personal card with them first. There are plenty of them, but actually my first American Express card was the Platinum card. So I went straight to the high annual fee one, but the benefits does offset the fee for me. Once you become a member with American Express, if you apply for any of their other cards, you would most likely only get a soft pull. Now, there has been rare cases where when you try to apply for a business card, when you only had personal cards, that may result in a hard pull, but this did not happen to me and your mileage may vary. So with American Express, they tend to hand out pretty high limits. There's also an unwritten rule where you can get a 3x credit limit increase in 91 days with only a soft pull. I have done this on numerous accounts with different credit cards. So out of all of the American Express cards, which one should you start off with first? The only 2 cards that I would consider first would be the Blue Business Cash or Plus cards. They are pretty similar, but one earns cash back and the other one earns membership reward points. So it really depends on what you value more. So with the Blue Business Cash card, currently you can earn a $250 payment credit after you spend $3,000 in purchases within the first 3 months. But the best thing about this card is that you can get a 0% interest APR on purchases for 12 months from the date of the account opening. With the Business Plus card, you can earn 15,000 membership reward points after you spend $3,000 in purchases within the first 3 months, and you can also get a 0% intro APR for 12 months from the date of the account opening. One of the downsides of American Express is that not all merchants accept them, unfortunately. They are a little bit tougher to liquidate through Plastique, which is a third party that allows you to pay vendors with your credit card. Plastique, they only accept Visa and MasterCard. One rule to keep in mind about American Express is that they got this rule called the 1 in 5 rule. Basically, you can only apply for a credit card every 5 days, but you can only have a maximum of 5 credit cards at one time. Now, let's talk about the credit bureaus. When it comes to pulling a credit report, American Express, they usually check out Experian, but sometimes they may take a peek at TransUnion. But interestingly, some people have had success by freezing TransUnion and having American Express solely rely on their Experian report. And that's the lowdown. Getting more than $50,000 in business funding for a new LLC doesn't have to be that complex. Just keep in mind that with a solid credit score, a responsibly named LLC, and a realistic projection of revenue, you can get high starting credit limits for your business. If you haven't started a business yet, don't worry, check out these videos here to help you start getting business credit.